Okay, everyone, I am back. I'm going to try this for a second time. I am proving that Eric Dubay double debunked himself. He made a claim against Simon Dan or against the globe by trying to explain how solar analemma works, and he double debunked himself. Um, First of all, Eric Dubay's original argument is based upon this notion that the sun's annual journey goes round a flat disk, and that motion is accentuated by the fact the sun will be from cycle to cycle over 365 cycles. It'll vary at distance from the North Pole, from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn, and then back, forming your figure eight. So here's his figure eight. Right. So you see how he's trying to account for the months as being the location where the sun is versus what we see in the sky. And then what we see will be a sun that sets later and higher in July than it would be in December. Well, the problem that he has, first of all, is that he's still dealing with the fact that the sun goes around the disk, goes around these circles at the same speed, and that can't be helped. I mean, you either are going to show that the sun slows down in speed in order to allow the area that is closest to the circle, concentric circle, to get the same amount of sun during the day, right? Their summer. And then on the southern hemisphere, the sun would have to traverse, because remember, each cycle is a 24-hour cycle. So the sun is going nearly twice as fast around to get to the 24-hour cycle, in which case people in the northern hemisphere would see the sun move faster. So it totally distorts the way the analemma would look. And I tried to explain it in my previous video, and I got all confused because it's just a mess. But that's not the main issue. The main issue is that the sun does not change size in the sky the way Eric Dubay indicates. There is a very slight variation during the northern hemisphere winter. The sun is actually closer than the southern hemisphere winter. So during January, I mean, everyone's January is the same. So that's fine. But poor Dubay, he made a big mistake because he's trying to accuse Dan of cherry picking. What Dan shows here is a solar analemma, and it's showing the sun. This looks like a pretty high northern latitude area. I would say, let's just say somewhere in Canada. I have no idea. Maybe in Great Britain. And near sunset or near a particular time of day, I'll say 7 o'clock, maybe 6:30. This is where the sun is. This is where the sun is down here. This is the dead of winter. This is like, late December, okay, early January. And then you're going up to January, February, March. March actually would be up here. April, May, June, late June, early July, then back to August, September, October, November, December, okay? That's the way it works, because during the northern hemisphere summer, the sun is going to be up higher and last longer. And at these two convergence points, that's the equinox. That's the September 20th and the March 20th, okay? So now Eric Dubay goes and makes a big mistake. Oh, he says, okay, he says that this was taken at 7:30 a.m., by the way. Dan says this was 7:30 a.m. That's all close. I thought it was 7:30 p.m. in the evening, but it's 7:30 a.m. in the morning. So that's fine. So Eric Dubay, the sun does not change size in this picture. And Eric Dubay's response is, oh, Dan, you cherry picked. There are pictures of the sun changing size in the sky. So let's look at this first picture that Dubay shows. because we have to wonder what Dubay's angle is here. Okay, so as you can see, the sun gets larger along one side of the analemma versus the other. That's going to be important later. I'm going to come back to this. Okay, and Eric Dubay simply explains how taking pictures at the same time of day at the course of a year, the sun changes apparent size, right? And you look at these pictures, and except for that first example that Dubay gives, the next picture and the next ones, they don't show that much variation, right? So here's the big problem. Eric Dubay says this. He says, hey, when the sun gets close to the horizon, or when there's anything close to the horizon, it increases in apparent brightness, which is absurd. He tries to use the city lights as example, saying, hey, look at the city lights in the distance. They're brighter than the city lights up close. Blaming vapor and aqueous particles and fog and whatnot for that. And what he doesn't acknowledge is that the particles have no way to diffuse all these lights in the distance. And that's important because each one of those little spots in the distance is not the equivalent of one of these little spots in the foreground. Those are a convergence of many spots close together. Okay, but that's not the big debunk. Remember, he says that the sun appears larger in the sky when you head towards the horizon. So when the air is moist and vapory, it's more intense, he says. And he does admit that during sunrise and sunset, the sun must shine through a greater amount of air, okay, than during midday. But here's where he makes his mistake. He says the sun must be dilated and magnified during the times when the sun is near the horizon, right? Right? The sun, as it sets towards the horizon, he says, from a viewer's perspective, so he says, simultaneously gets bigger due to these reasons that he gave, right? So, going back to his analemma, we got a little bit of problem there, Mr. Dubay. This image right here, where you're showing the larger sun, is not following the principles of your magnification near the horizon. What you've done is you've gotten a picture that someone took and they did a very bad job, where sometime around November, maybe, let's assume that, you know, the circle goes like this in a clockwise way, or well, I guess from either point of view, it doesn't matter. But let us assume that the brighter sun, okay, starts somewhere down here. We're at November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Okay, so you're saying that for some reason the sun doesn't get larger, doesn't look larger when it's close to the horizon. It just looks larger for some arbitrary reason as you're going up and down one half of the year. And the worst part that debunks you is right here. This is the solstice right here. This is March 22nd, right next to December 22nd. They're right next to each other, and yet the sun sizes are not the same, right? And you could try to make the argument that the sun is larger. It's larger in December, or in not December. I said December. I'm sorry. This would be September versus March, right next to each other. So either March or September is supposed to be so much larger, right? The problem is that the size should be larger based upon the solstice. And for you, based upon how close you are to the horizon, not seeing that. I'm not seeing a correlation between solstice nor horizon distance. So you debunked yourself there. And if atmospheric density changes due to the sun's distance were to explain the reduced brightness, then we should still see a proportional amount of reduction in the disk size. In other words, if the sun disk is smaller, no matter where it is in the sky, and is due to the brightness, then and is due to the distance, then yeah, I would see a smaller disk despite atmospheric refraction, because the overall reduction in brightness is very marked as you get closer to the horizon. Okay, when it's let's just look at this. This is not that close to the horizon, and we're still not that close to the horizon. We're still not that close to the horizon. I should see some kind of change, jump, because you get right here, and what you get is you get a large change in brightness. Okay, and in addition, what you also get is, in your case, it should be followed by a change in disk size. You're not seeing that at all. You're not seeing the change. The change in disk size occurs up here along this little area. And what I think happened was that the camera person was getting a brighter experience during, I don't know, maybe the summertime months. And so he made the adjustments early on to account for that, but he never really adjusted them back. So there's no way to really know unless you're really an expert, and I'm not. But none of this corresponds to your argument. So you debunked yourself by saying that the sun size would get larger due to being closer to the horizon, which is debunked by this image. And this is debunking the argument about the solar analemma following the path of a solar brightness based upon time of year. So you double debunked yourself. And that's it. I'm going to try yet again to make this a better video, but for now, I crushed you.